Hello and welcome back to yet another not live episode of the Green and White podcast brought to you by Argyle Life. Plymouth Argyle celebrated Valentine's Day with a lovely trip to the northwest coast to make the Seasiders look amateur. Blackpool left on all fours. Peacock Farrell also left with no protection from his defence. Saw four different men finish. Alex Mitchell losing his Argyle goal virginity, Pepple notched, and Boateng and Watts embraced too. Blackpool's only note in the game saw Husband receive his card, as you would expect. Poole did muster a few small half chances, shooting their shot late in the night, but going home in nothing, and it was the Green Army showcasing their love with a public display of affection at full time. Ian Evatt will have sleepless nights, tossing and turning over that one. Joining me for a romantic podcast in a travel lodge, audio listeners will not get this glamorous view. A man who knows how to pleasure a beach, Adam Price.
Nice. First time I've heard that, but thank you.
A man whose hair is turning all 50 shades of grey, John Alsop.
Dressed in pink for the occasion.
You are.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Pink to make the boys wink. And many call him names that rhyme with Cupid. Sam Down. How's things?
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Aaron.
Good. Right, give us your match run through.
It was an utterly fantastic performance. Good a response to the Lincoln debacle as we could have asked for. Completely dominant from start to finish. Came out the better team. Continued as the better team after going 1-0 ahead, and carried on as the better team pretty much all the way through to the final whistle with almost no let off whatsoever. One of the most dominant performances I think we've seen all season. I'm a little bit more agnostic whether I'd say it's the best, because I do think Blackpool were definitely the worst. But I think when you offset how bad they were against how good we were, it was certainly the most dominant performance, even if we wouldn't quite say, it was outright our best, but it was certainly exceptionally good. 4 actually really nicely worked goals in their own way, I would say. 2 from set pieces. Great Herby Kane free kick for the first. Puts it really into the most dangerous area you can imagine, right on the far post. Alex Mitchell, lovely finish. Maybe a few people thinking it was no goal in the ground, but it was a lovely finish actually from him. Watching it again, almost a striker's finish actually. Second goal, again, real dangerous ball into that far post area by Caleb Watts, and it falls in the end to. I don't like this business of doing it live because I keep loving my lines. It scored a second again. I'm tired. Pepple, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, it falls to Pepple.
It's going up as live.
He taps it home. It's going up as live. Yeah, wonderful. Sure. We might cut that. We might not. You'll see. And the third goal I remember a lot more vividly. I had a little bit of a brain, but I have been up since 3 a.m. I do apologise. Normally I have the hindsight of the next day. Great corner.
Normally he's made his mum rewatch the game several times
good.
By the time we come on.
Good.
Yeah.
Great corner in from Ronan Curtis. It sort of bobbles around again. Common trend of all 3 of those I've just mentioned, all into a dangerous area. Bobbles round, clears back out. Herby Kane sort of drills it along the floor, through a crowd of bodies rather than powers it, which really works out when it doesn't go in, but it bounces out to Malachi Boateng, who's in the right place at the right time and taps it home. And then the fourth goal is an absolutely fantastic piece of teamwork. Ronan Curtis runs down the wing. Joe Edwards does the inverting fullback thing that we've seen every now and again. We have had conversation about inverting. Is it good? Is it not good? Is it good to have more width? But certainly, nobody would deny there's never a time and place for it. That's double negative, but you know what I meant. There is sometimes a time and place for it. Joe Edwards cuts inside. Nice little pass and an absolutely fantastic finish as well. Should have gone 5 up. Matthias Ross probably a very high value chance to make it 5-0, and obviously just doesn't quite get the right connection on it. A bit more power on it, and that's 5-0. Couple of other little half traps as well, but yeah, 4 good bits of play in their own way, 3 really dangerous balls in, which were then finished well, obviously accordingly, and then obviously the fourth is absolutely fantastic bit of play. Great from Curtis to have that power, run down the wing and make the move. Great from Edwards to come inside and be that link man, and obviously a great finish from Caleb Watts as well. So I think had been maybe a little bit end product, hadn't quite been there up to that point, but he was in the right place at the right time, and it was a great finish by him. Red card incident. I suppose the only slightly critical thing is Amici didn't need to go sliding in recklessly like that late in the game at all. We were already 4-0 up. Possibly maybe a little bit lucky not to have gone for that, you could say, but it wasn't. It was the yellow, and Husbands, as we have said, saw red on Valentine's Day and was given his marching orders. Really idiotic thing for him to do as well at 4-0 down. Just, at that point, just see the game out. Even if you're going to get up and give him a little push, and a yellow card. Why, if I was Ian Evatt, I'd be absolutely furious with him for that, doing that when the game's already dead and gone.
We should also just say, by the way, that was such a strange incident in the ground.
Yeah, none of us had a clue what was going on in the ground, did we really?
No, because I thought I'd seen a red card, but I couldn't tell if it was for Amici or Husband.
Yeah.
Because it looked like it was a bad tackle from Amici, and then Husband, I very clearly saw him in the ground kicking out. So I thought, that is a red card waiting to happen.
And then we saw the yellow, which was definitely to Amici.
And then it looked like someone was walking off, but then they turned around and didn't walk off, and then someone did
walk off.
Yeah, it's all a bit of a mess. But yeah, fair enough.
On top of that, Adam, not to continue the Valentine's puns, but it's all coming together, isn't it?
Well, boo. Honestly, yeah, it is. And to be honest, I credit the man to my left here, John. I think you mentioned in a recent podcast that we are due to thrash somebody in such a way that we've been playing in the first halves of games. We've been playing teams off the park, getting the one goal, and either dropping points in the second half or being forced to hold on. And it just had to be the case at some stage that we turn up in the first half, we finish our chances, we blow a team away, and so it proved today. We were, as Sam says, exceptional, and it just worked. And I think the confidence that a few of us had going into the game was clearly rewarded because, I say a few of us. No, John had no confidence, but it's nice to be right on this one at least. Very good all round, and just great that we've turned up, played as we have been in recent weeks, but got the goals to back it up and come away with what was a fabulous victory in the end. It's, they were not terrific. I think it's fair to say. I think Blackpool playing like that are in serious trouble, and just played directly into our hands. And talking of taking things into one's own hands, Ian Evatt wasn't on the touchline for the game. I just wonder, if it's the way that they were playing, obviously suiting us so much, whether him not being there and whether he'd be able to change it if he was. Probably not, because he's got the reputation of being stubborn anyway.
I do think, Adam, though, the Evatt style is, I think we discussed this on the preview section of this week's pod, or someone did, is to pass the ball out from the back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it was explicitly discussed after last week's game that doing that with the back three would play into our press.
Yeah,
based on recent weeks, and it did. It totally did. And for the entire game, you could see that rather than just putting their foot through it, they were trying to play the ball out, and we were just all over them like a rash. Didn't give them any chance to settle, and eventually they played a rash pass out of that situation, either turned over possession or put it out for our ball. And a couple of times they played through us, but by that point, I think we were 3-0 up, and the game was sort of anyway.
They didn't have a shot until we were 4 up.
No.
So I think it says it all. And totally. The way they set up, the way we anticipated would suit us, it clearly did. I think my point was more, if he was on the touchline for that happening, would he have made a change? To be honest, probably not, because we know how Evatt's reputation is.
And I don't really see when he could have made a change, because in the last 2 games, 3 games actually, because of the Mansfield one as well, you've seen an opposition manager make a change at half-time or early in the second half. But, in order to do that, they've had to be in the game at the time. Not only were they not in the game really at any stage, when we were 1-0 up, it then went from 1 to 3 very quickly, right? I could see a world in which we had gone 2-0 up in, say, the 38th minute, where he may have made a change in the 40th minute and tried to just keep it tight until half-time and then wrest the momentum back after half-time. We scored those second and third goals in such quick succession. They had no time to react. 2-0 it's a recoverable game, maybe 3-0 it's over. And that, by the way, just from our point of view, that impressed me so much that we did not, because that second goal has clearly been a bit of a bogey issue in recent weeks. We haven't capitalised on being 1-0 up and then gone on to score a second via a combination of bad luck, good goalkeeping against us, wasteful finishing, whatever. Not only I think the players could have been excused for scoring that second goal and then deciding that's it. We're 2-0 up, the game's over, we're going to go into half time and protect. They sensed that Blackpool were vulnerable. They sensed that they were, going for the jugular would potentially yield the third goal, and it did.
Yeah.
And I think that goal was just so integral in killing that game, rather than it being a game where Blackpool could come out and go score one, we've got a chance.
I think we're in agreement, to be honest. That changes very unlike. I think it goes beyond that, and to back up that point, it was 15 shots to 0 in that first half.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a case of we've come away from that. We've taken our chances and we've got lucky. We've blown them away, and we deserve to blow them away. Whatever they could have done, as I say, change incredibly unlikely. If they made the change, would it have worked? Hopeful, because of how strong we were. And just the end of that first half, as I mentioned at the start, going in 3 goals up rather than the one, as we have in various games. Yeah, it was just great. It was just great, and long may that continue.
Yeah, I don't want to pick you up in your deserved blowing comments. This one's not getting promoted on Passotti, is it? Let's move on to the individual players, because we want to keep this nice and short and sweet, as I do most times. Jesus. We want to get out. So individual players, John, Herby Kane, very impressive today.
Yeah, so I was very, very keen to see Herby Kane play from the start today, with no disrespect to Boateng and Wiradou. I think the two of them in that central midfield are too similar to really kind of drive us up the pitch consistently over 90 minutes. I think that we've seen somewhat effective performances from the two of them parked in there. I think Wiradou played most of the losing game that we won 1-0, right? Because Ross came off in like the 8th or 9th minute of the game. But since then, we haven't won. And I think part of that is probably just the fact, and this really is not a criticism of either individual. It's just that neither of their games is dictating the tempo, spraying it around, being the kind of creative impetus from that midfield too. So I was very keen to see Kane come in. I think the question mark we had was, can he do that? I think there was some suggestion that maybe he only had 45 minutes in him. That turned out to not be the case. And I think also that even if it had been the case, it would have been worth starting him, because even if he'd come off at half time with us 3-0 up, then he would have.
We take it.
Yeah, we take it. And he was brilliant. I think he's not. It would be overly simple to say that he's come in and just done exactly the job that Rawls does. I think they're slightly different players. Rawls plays with the kind of energy of someone who's coming more towards the end of their career. I think he's a little bit less dynamic and kind of all over the place maybe, but he makes up for that with kind of supreme positional sense and calmness. Kane is a little bit more of a dynamo in that midfield, I would say. I think he's someone who still, is calm on the ball. He has great composure, but he sort of likes to get himself into more places than Rawls, I think, and sort of to dictate the game in that way. And I felt he was a really key player for us today. And he basically got 2 assists. Obviously, it's a great ball in for that Mitchell finish for the first one, just a really, really high quality delivery. And that, by the way, I mean, the increased quality of our deliveries is making a huge difference to us at the moment. Every time Curtis is over a dead ball or even just an open play, you expect a good cross to come in, and that I think we'll probably come on to it again. But that was the case for the second goal, I think. Oh no, the third goal was the really good Curtis
corner,
and Kane, gave us that as well from the free kick for Mitchell to score. I want to touch on the third goal for a minute, because it's an interesting one. Obviously, the ball comes in from Curtis, as I mentioned. It then falls to Kane on the edge of the box. It sort of looks a bit like he scuffed it. It sort of looks a bit like it's come out to him. He really wants to welly it and sort of try and score in the top corner. And actually he scuffed it and then just sort of bounces out. And maybe you could argue it's poor goalkeeping defending to allow Boateng to then come in and put it in the top corner. I think if you look at it back, I think he means it. I think he knows that the players in his way between him and the goal are going to jump to try and block an aerial, powerful shot. And I think he is trying to score underneath him. If you look at the technique, when the ball leaves his foot, he side foots it. Like if he wanted to hit it as hard as he could, I think he would hit it with his laces, or try and toe punt it, just powerfully, whatever. But it's a side footed finish. I still don't think he's caught it as well as he would like. I think he's trying to cushion it into the corner. It's a bit of a scuff ultimately at the end of the day. But I think the fact it's gone with that low trajectory is intentional, and that is what's created the goal, because all the players jump, goes under them, keeper parries it out, and it's a tap in for Malachi. So that was just really intelligent play. He's someone, and I think anyone who watched our deadline day pod would know, someone I rate very highly, having seen him play against us a few times over the years and dictate games in exactly that way. I was really keen to see him come in today and try and do that for us, and he did. I thought he really lived up to my expectations, and I'm very excited to see more of it, and I'm desperately hopeful that we can do something in the summer to keep him with us.
Sam, John's done half your job for you. Ronan Curtis.
Yeah, Ronan Curtis. I find it's an absolutely genuinely staggering statistic that he has not yet registered a league assist for us, when he could have happened about 12 different times, because he's had so many.
Three in the virtue.
Yeah, they're three in the virtue. Absolutely.
We know.
But in terms of league, like the one at Peterborough for Pepple that was a huge miss. I think one for Luton for, I can't even remember who for, that was a big miss. Just quite a lot that have just fizzed across the box. Nobody's quite got their foot to it.
When he had a ball in that Aseni nearly put in against, I don't think that was even the Luton game. I think that was one of the other home games.
Yeah, possibly
maybe, or even.
I think it was Lincoln even, possibly.
Yeah,
at when we were already a few down. Yeah, that was that one, and I guess the other genre of nearly getting an assist is a goal that he was heavily involved in, even if he didn't officially register the assist, and that goes for certainly the third and to an extent the fourth as well. That ball in the corner was one of the most lethal set piece deliveries I've seen all season. It was in a position where it was, hanging under the crossbar, very tough to deal with. We were crowding around the keeper as well, making it tough for him. The keeper punching it back out, which it's probably all he can really do in that situation. I don't think anyone's catching it. I don't think then you blame, if you blame anyone, if you're thinking of it from an analyst point of view for Blackpool, you're blaming maybe the defender for not getting out quick enough to Kane, and then you're also maybe blaming whoever doesn't quite pick up Boateng as well.
Well, I think also Peacock Farrell spilled it into the path of Boateng for the finish, right? If I remember correctly.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, but I don't think you can blame him for the initial corner. But yeah, no, that's true actually. Yeah, but anyway, point being, great ball into Ronan Curtis again for the fourth goal. Touching back to what I said, really using his width very well. He's just an old-fashioned dynamic winger. Is the kind of player that you don't see that much in football anymore, and he's an absolute pleasure to watch when he plays. I'm absolutely certain the first league assist and the first, outright Argyle goal for us are both around the corner, because he gets himself into really dangerous areas. He's an absolutely joyful player to watch. Absolutely love watching him play. And just again was an absolute menace, absolute thorn in the side of Blackpool.
You haven't mentioned the best thing he did. Just a filthy piece of skill for the fourth goal.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, I was coming. I think I was coming down, but I got sidetracked. Yeah, absolutely lovely piece of skill. Completely left the defender for dust, and obviously they really picked out Edwards well, who then had the official assist like I say for Watts for the fourth goal. So 2 goals he was heavily involved in, constant threat all game, and in terms of the positionality of it, being such a wide presence allowed Edwards to sometimes come inside, and often when we saw in contrast to the other side, I know he's obviously now suspended with Sorinola because he was on his wrong foot. You would sometimes see Sorinola come inside more, and obviously Galloway would own that more. Now we're without both of them, Sorinola through suspension, Galloway through another injury. And obviously it's a little bit of a different setup now. Obviously Harding very much not on his natural side, I don't think. And Dale is, don't want to be too critical after a 4-0 win, but I think quite limited. But really on that right-hand side is where we're most threatening, because we've got the width, we've got the ability to come inside when we have to and create overload patterns. And it's not a lot, coincidence. Yes, obviously, the set piece chance is fantastic, but I think most of our open play moments came down our right, Blackpool's left-hand side, and really credit to actually Edwards as well as I do got 2 and 1 there. Credit to Edwards as well as Curtis. Edwards had a great game.
Yeah, I think everybody today was very good, but yeah, if you had to pick. You had to be slightly mean. You would say Dale was the least rated out of everyone.
I think it's probably both the left siders, Harding and Dale. And Harding, I am more sympathetic to because he's on his unnatural side.
I felt actually Harding when he switched over to right back towards.
Yes.
With the real caveat that Blackpool had given up by that point, did step forward with a bit more aggression and authority, and I felt he did really well when he switched over.
Yes,
I don't think he was bad at all at left back today.
I agree.
But I think he looked much more at home on that.
To be fair as well, you come away with a clean sheet and a 4-0 win. It's kind of hard to look back, isn't it?
Oh, for sure.
Harding to look back.
Very good. Valentine's Day, Harding.
No, I wasn't even doing that.
They should have used that. They should have used it.
Christ.
Wes. League One Wes. Adam, you've picked Caleb Watts.
I have picked Caleb Watts. He's so good to watch. And when he is on song, there are a few players in this division that I think top him for what he offers to this side. I think we've got to bear in mind that we're currently in a situation where he's not playing in the position that he was necessarily signed for. And yet he's still
Has
able.
he ever played in the position he was signed for?
Well, it's hard to say, isn't it?
Maybe
I
one
know,
once or twice.
literally in his first, his first few games, I think he played. It was when
He played up front.
No, his first.
Yeah.
No, yeah, Porter played number 9 in his very first game, but I mean in like the games when it was, I think Bolton away.
Pepple came in.
Pepple came in, and I think he played, and Patson was out. So I think he played number 10 then. And I think it was then possibly that same.
Well, Talay came in for the Blackpool game, and they're fourth, right? So
yes, but I
So
think
he's played in the centre mid, the 10 and the 9, right? So his chant about running down the wing. Agreed.
doesn't run down the wing.
Exactly.
But I think there was
he
that.
does make the Argyle sing.
He
though,
does,
so
but
that-
not run down the wing.
Was there not a handful of games between
maybe.
Pepple coming back from injury and Watts getting his own injury that he actually played in the number 10? Because even when then Tolai came in and knocked Pepple out, that Stockport 4-2 game, I think, was he not? But that was that was in the move to 3-4-3. So then he was kind of like an inside 10, but instead of being an actual 10,
I think we could
1, it's just a couple of games,
compromise on him having played more out of position than in it.
Oh, yes,
or at
for
least it's.
But that's just what we do, right?
for sure.
We sign players and play them out of position, i.e. Wes Harding. Sorry, Adam.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I've not listened to much of that. Anyway, something about the position he plays in, which is correct, that he's very rarely played as number 10. In spite of all of this, we can have the debates about whether he's actually played in that position very often. He still delivers wherever he is on the pitch, which I think a few players for us across the years, I'm not going to name drop anybody now, haven't been able to do when they're forced into certain roles, whereas Caleb Watts absolutely can. And we saw that today in the best possible way. The way he was able to advance us up the pitch, the way he was able to beat his man almost at will at times, it felt like everything good we did came through Caleb Watts. I think there was, I know a lot of the goals came from set-piece situations that he wasn't necessarily directly involved in, but I know there was an occasion where he forced a save, I think just after we'd gone 1-0 up when we were pushing for the second, and maybe it was from that actually that we won the set-piece that brought either the second or third goal. I don't know, something along those lines, but he was very much involved. And then, of course, in the second half, he gets himself his goal. It's part of a wonderful team move.
Goal of the season for me, by the way. We had this debate off air. I think that is as good a team goal as you're going to see, and the finish is stylish.
Up there, and it says quite a lot that one of the contenders to that though is also Caleb Watts' goal against Stockport earlier in the season, amongst a few others with Bin Pepple, obviously on the podium. But yeah, it's just so good to see this guy in form, fit, and delivering, and safe in the knowledge actually that he can deliver wherever we want to see him line up, wherever's going to suit us best in the system. We can put Caleb Watts in there and know, generally speaking, that we're going to get a good performance. And I really hope he keeps fit. I really hope we can get that run in the team that he's not really been able to have since he joined. And yeah, just that consistency in the performance and what we saw today, I think is fantastic. And kind of at odds with what I think we were told from Exeter Sports when he signed, that he was a bit inconsistent. I don't get that at all, actually. I think he's very consistent and delivers whatever we need him to. The only drawback, as you say earlier, Aaron, is his chance, which just does not fit at all. For two reasons. One, he's not a winger. We've got a lot of options for running down the wing that we can use. Second of all, if we're going to use that...
Ronan Curtis running down the wing.
Running down the wing absolutely works.
Does Ronan Curtis run down the wing, or does he jink?
He hasn't yet scored goals.
That's the same. That's the same.
No, it's not the same.
Scat.
It's not the same.
Ronan Curtis jinking down the wing. Running down the wing. It's saved up.
No, Scats. I'm saying he doesn't run, he jinks.
It's the same jinking.
It's better.
It's at the same cadence.
But as Sam says, he doesn't score goals.
Just quickly, I think to drag back to something vaguely sensible. I think there is a question mark. Does Talay come back in on Tuesday or even next weekend?
That's all right. Yeah, go on.
Oh, well, okay, if you're going to do that.
No, go on.
I'll get a second point. That's all right.
Because obviously this is an insane thing to say, and like several weeks ago we were all thinking Talay getting injured would be like the death knell for us. And look, obviously, it's not in any way about him getting worse. the four halves of football, without wishing to go all Tom Cleverley, that Peppel and Watts have played together up front over the last 3 games, so 2 halves today and then the first halves of the previous 2 games, have been 4 incredibly dominant good halves. Like incredibly dominant. I cannot see how you decide to change that on Tuesday.
And I just wonder as well, amongst that whole equation of 3 and the 2 doesn't go, I want to still once again bring back the last time Owen Aseni played an appearance of featuring 50 minutes or longer, he got 4 goal involvements, 3 assists and a goal. So, Owen Aseni was actually not in the squad today. And I do think that he's, as much as he was looking absolutely electric in December before his injury, I do feel with him being a little bit off the pace when he's come on in the recent games, maybe he hasn't yet fully recovered from his injury. Maybe we're just giving him a bit more time to fully recover. But if we can get Owen Aseni back to how he was, in fine Vettel in December, all of a sudden we are suddenly in a position that we never thought we've been in, where we've actually got 4 really good striker options vying for 2 spots, which we never thought we'd be in. Can
I ask a question? Because I was not at the Doncaster game because I was down under at the time. How did the front 2 operate in that game? It was were they pressing incredibly high and hard like we have pressed in the last 3 or 4 games, or is that a more recent innovation?
I would say they were very much pressing, maybe not quite to the same level.
Yeah.
I think
because Aseni's goal involvements that I saw watching the highlights back were more from a withdrawn position where he was, playing through balls. And
what I would say is Doncaster, without seeing the stats, my feeling would be that we dominated possession more than we did because in the Luton game, the Peterborough game, and possibly even today.
I think it was 50-50, I think, from
sure. So in all 3 of those games, Peterborough, Luton, and today, they were incredibly dominant performances in terms of chance creation, without being especially dominant in terms of possession, because the pressing and the counter-attack was the absolute pinnacle of it. Whereas Doncaster, don't get me wrong, there was still some good pressing. My feeling, without having the stats to hand for Doncaster, is that we did dominate the possession, to at least a more reasonable extent. And as you said, Aseni was in that withdrawn role. I do think what you maybe didn't quite notice, which to be fair, for Aseni's 1 goal you did see, is Aseni and Tolle had that really good kind of synergy, whereby one would drop deep. When we had possession, one would drop deep and the other would make an off-the-shoulder run, almost to the point, and I think I said it in the Doncaster pod, I don't know if you listened to that when you were in Australia, but almost to the point where
Listener, I did not.
Almost to the point where, you didn't know which one of them was going to make the run off the shoulder or which one was going to drop deep. So it was different.
Yeah, they were almost like when they started playing together, it was a bit confusing because they looked like they were going to do the same thing, and then they just.
And I think that unpredictability was what made us so good with them as a pair. So it was different. There were certainly similarities with how they played in the front 2, how Peppel and Watts played in the front 2, but also some differences as well. And if we can just get Aseni back to that level he was at before that injury, which was the last time we played a 50-minute or more appearance.
Because at the moment,
4 great options.
At the moment, it looks to me like if we play like we have in the first half in the last few games for the rest of the season, we will just win most of the time. We might not win against teams like Cardiff, Lincoln, Stockport, who are right up there and have the ability to hang in there in those games.
We are now very clearly
we clearly just blew Blackpool away. That was not an accident or an XG. We clearly just blew them away.
As we did with Peterborough.
And if we go to Orient and play with that intensity, there's no reason why we can't do the same thing again against the poorer sides. And I'm not saying that, by the way, it's not don't clip me up and say that we will do that. Obviously, each game is different. But if we can just play with that kind of intensity, we look almost not unstoppable, because we obviously have been stopped a couple of times to play, but we look very hard to stop. Really hard to stop.
And once again, it really does now, I think, point more to the idea of just injuries having been the problem, right? And again, elephant in the room time, so much more confident we've got to have in goal.
I wouldn't call you that.
You nasty man. So much more confident. So much more confident again. We've Connor Hazard in goal.
No, I was going to come on to that. Obviously, Northern Ireland's number 1 is apparently Bailey Peacock Farrell, who was. I've said this to John. He's the most overrated goalkeeper I've ever seen in my life.
That's not what you said to me. What did you say to me?
I said he's the worst goalkeeper I've ever seen in my life, and then you reminded me who we currently employ. He's the 2nd worst goalkeeper I've ever seen in my life.
I think you said he's the worst keeper in the league. I think is what you said.
Yeah, okay, but he's not. He's just not very good. I don't understand
that's a bit harsh.
How he's not on who?
Peacock Farrell.
Who's worse?
I just don't think Peacock Farrell was like the problem for them.
No, I just think he's shit. Sorry.
What I certainly don't get is how on earth he's being picked for Northern Ireland ahead of Hazard, but Hazard has been better for a long time.
Agreed. Is it? I make it 5 clean sheets in a row for Hazard now. Joe said 4. I'm sure the club tweeted out 4 in a row.
That was 4 wins in a row, including Bristol Rovers in the Pizza Cup where Ashby haven't played. It was 4 wins in a row, not 4 clean sheets in a row.
Okay, all right.
So I'm counting Burton, Peterborough, Luton, and today for Hazard clean sheets.
Okay, fine. 4 clean sheets in a row.
But it's still very good.
That ends. Not that there was any discussion on the who's the best goalkeeper after last week, but that ends that discussion.
If you listened to the press conference before today's game, there was some discussion of this.
Yes,
I thought was
I think cleverly shut that down quite well.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
And then I can't remember what I was going with that, but yeah, okay, discuss that. Adam, do you want to say your second point? Okay, Watts.
Oh Christ! Yeah,
I
no,
don't think that you can drop Watts for Tuesday night, can you?
no, yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? And then my second point was still going to be on the champ, as it happens. We've already mentioned the. I'd like to raise it because if we're going to use that tune, and I know some of this can be edited out, and we're not going to be able to somehow fit in "fuck off City, I'm a Jano now," is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Please make that work. Somebody cleverer than me sort that out because he's not a winger. But he did fuck off City, so come on now.
Right, if we won't get...
I think the issue is that anybody who's named that he one chat with such and such, he signed under Muslich, and well, I suppose you could say David Fox, but he seems to be very anonymous.
This is another thing, maybe I wasn't
one chat with cleverly fits in. I'm sure it'll be fine.
I wasn't going to bring this
not
up.
about time scales.
I wasn't going to bring this up today.
One chat with Foxy, he's a Janet now. That works.
But anyway,
I have a complaint just quickly.
I wasn't going to bring this up previously, but earlier on in the season, the transfers that we made were called shit or not good enough or whatever by the board in the fans forum. Now all of a sudden they're good enough. So do we actually have to retrospective?
What's that noise?
Some of them.
Some of them.
Yeah, some of them.
Okay, apart from
well, look, I think that I don't want this pod to be about this, so I'm just going to say this quickly.
That'd be nice.
If we had signed a better backup goalkeeper, there is every chance that we would be in the playoff hunt right now, rather than feeling comfortable in mid-table.
But you're not going to win. You're not going to win all the recruitment, right? So one bad player.
As was discussed on the pod last week, he literally kicked the ball into his own net on his trial.
I honestly feel like even someone on the level of Callum Burton would have gained a few points.
Anyway, right, move it on.
But yes, I do think it's just quickly. I think it's fair to say, and I think on my last appearance on the pod, I did say this. So I actually was not as harsh on that recruitment as the time with some others, and some of it has aged quite well. Pebble has aged very well. I think that has to be.
They've all aged roughly the same amount though, because it's been the same amount of time.
Grow up. They did literally.
They did.
Yeah.
I don't know who wants this. Sam, maybe. Graham Carey's goal here at Blackpool is one that we like to reminisce about. Which of those 4 came closest?
I mean, the fourth one is the best goal. I'm not going to be churlish enough to argue that. But I think they're all very good in their own way. The thing is that none of those 4 were amazing individual goals. They were all team goals to an extent. Whether it's 3 of them had a brilliant cross and the 4th one had a brilliant team move. None of them were amazing individual goals. So in that sense, none of them are really similar to the Carey goal. But the 4th one is the highest quality. Yeah,
correct. I didn't say which one was similar, so which one came closest. But also, this is the only question I wrote yesterday. I expect us to score at least 1. But anyway, another question for you, Sam. We'll go to fans' questions. Question from Kersey: is a seagull an animal or a bird?
What did he really say that?
Yeah.
Well, it's both, clearly, right?
Yeah, both.
They're both. Okay, and I've lost the other question. A question from Ross Coleman for you, John. Why are you drinking Carlsberg?
Did someone actually ask that?
Yeah.
But we're not live, so how do they know?
No, because I tweeted at the phone.
It's drinkable.
Drinkable. Okay.
If Carlsberg did away days.
Yeah. Okay.
Then
question from Jason. Sam, which country has the best Coca-Cola? Moldova, correct. And Adam, you can have the serious one. There is a question about thoughts on the club's ownership, but we actually want to go out tonight, so I decided to save that for another time. Question, Adam, from Oliver, who asks, thoughts on why our away form is so much stronger than our home form?
I think the style is a natural factor. I think when we first brought in the 4-4-2, and Sam said it a lot of the time, and I do agree, it suited us away from home and didn't quite in the home games. The way that we weren't necessarily creating chances at will. We were tight. We did well. We kept things safe, as it were, and tried to nick a goal. I'm thinking the Wickham game, the Port Vale game. So that's helped our away form. And yes, things have changed since. The style has evolved for the better. We create more chances these days. We do, like to out-create our opponents as well as keep things tight at the back. But I just think that the confidence, actually, that initial run gave us has made such a difference. The way that we proved to ourselves, I think, that we can win away from home, we can be effective away from home, that has not particularly been the case for a very, very long time. We've just won away from home 4-0 at 3 p.m. on a Saturday, which didn't happen for a year at one stage. Well, didn't happen 4-0. Didn't happen at all for a year at some stage. So,
but the 4-0s happened. They just weren't winning.
We've now won 3 away games by 4 goals.
Yeah,
in the same, not only in the same season, but in the space of
a few months. And all of the.
No, we did have in the obviously. Sorry, Sam. Sorry, trigger warning. Schumacher 101 season. We did have a few wins by big goal margins, but we weren't winning as frequently away from home.
But we didn't really have any wins by big goal margins.
4-1 MK Dons.
5-2.
5-2.
Peterborough?
We lost 5-2.
Oh, we lost 5-2. Yeah.
The only one I can remember that was of that ilk was the 4-1 MK Dons.
And the 3-0 at Forest Green, I guess, actually, as well. But yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
There were kind of 2 really very dominant ones. Both.
And Port Vale, we were.
Yeah, but
quite dominant.
Yeah, but I don't think you put it.
Some idiot next to me was going absolutely berserk at the players, even though we'd already got promoted. I don't know who that was, but
I don't think you put it. I don't think you put it quite on a par with the sheer dominance in the MK and even that Forest Green.
But even this season though, can anyone remember a more dominant Argyle performance than today? I'm struggling.
No.
And again, you could say that it's because they were poor, but if you just sort of take the opposition out of it and just assume that you can only beat what's put in front of you. That away from home, I cannot remember.
If you look at it, 3 different metrics.
Even Burton, we were left on Wednesday. Burton had a good spell against us for 20 minutes.
I would agree. If you look at it on 3 metrics, metric 1, how good were Argyle, metric 2, how bad were the opponents, and metric 3, how dominant we were. In theory, metric 3 should be the delta between 2 and 1, right? So we could be very, very good, but if the opposing team is even somewhat decent, like Peterborough were at times, then it lessens the dominance. I certainly think today was the most dominant, without a doubt.
Yeah.
That was at least in part because of how utterly terrible Blackpool were. Whether it was the best, again, that's kind of juggling the metrics a bit. I think that you could very easily make a case that we were slightly better at Peterborough than we were today, but A, we didn't finish our chances, and B, Peterborough were better. And I think you could maybe even make that case even to the Burton game in terms of Burton were a more functional, organised team. Blackpool today was just horrifically bad. No offence to the Blackpool fans if you watched it. I'm sure you clearly have more on your lock in that, but that was just an absolute stinker performance. And I think they deserved every word of the boos that you fans gave your players. To be honest,
the one.
A lot less boos at full time than at half time though.
Yeah, because it was empty.
Because they all left, correct.
I think
I don't blame them, by the way. I would have left.
Just quickly, I think it was our best performance of the season. Having had time to reflect on it, I think
I'm not gonna die on the hill.
I think they were poor, but I think you also have to accept that at times there are things in the game that are not visible to people in the stands that make one team poor and the other team good, and the way we set up clearly stopped them from playing in the first place, and then they capitulated when we scored. But
I'm not going to die on the hill of arguing.
We set up to whereas Burton could have scored early on in that game. It was a very good performance, but if they had gone 1-0 up, which they had a chance to in the first 10-15 minutes, then it could be a different game.
Yeah, for sure.
Today, Blackpool.
But then Doncaster, an example, who did go 1-0 up in the first 10-15, and it's all different.
Ooh,
but the fact we've had 4.
It was, for the audio listeners, there was a random little speech bubble with a thumbs up that just appeared on John's.
Oh, that's nice. But the fact that there were 4 such genuinely good ones, then you can say that 4 performances have such total dominance. Burton, obviously today, Peterborough, and also Doncaster. And I think you could even maybe put, they're going to get really distracted by the bubble.
Sorry, carry on. It's an audio first plan.
Yes, I think you could even put Luton Home into that level of dominance as well.
Definitely.
Is really, really encouraging. And it's like, but what a weird season it's been.
Oh, yeah.
We've had these 4 or 5 performances of total dominance, but we've also
lost 4-1.
We've also lost 4-1 at home. And by the way, the 2 4-1 home losses were in theory right in the midst of the improvement as well. And that's not even accounting for the bad run. In the bad run, we had a run of losing 4 in a row. We had a run of losing 6 in a row. We then had, in theory, the good run, which had like a 4-1 defeat at home, then another 4-1 defeat at home. And we've had all these like incredibly dominant games. And I still think we've only drawn 4 times in the league all season. Wigan home, Wickham home, Mansfield home, and Stevenage away.
That's all I've got as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Swansea away in the cup that we lost.
It is a shame because I think at the moment, when we're good, we look like the best team in the league. Don't think that's hyperbole to say.
Love this, but we're 41 minutes in and we want to go out. Right, so Valentine's Day special, obviously. Just want to know the player that you're most in love with in this squad.
Oh, it's Ronan Curtis. The style, the winger, the panache. I love just seeing him run down the wing, take on a man, whip across it. He's like if you're like a parent or whatever, you want to take a kid to a game, or you want to just show somebody who doesn't love football what is great about football, the excitement, getting you off the seat. Ronan Curtis is the player you show above anything else. I nearly said Aseni. I'm a member of the Owen Aseni fan club to rival Ollie's Bin Pepple fan club. I think Aseni's great. I think he's also, and I think what you have with Curtis, you also have with Aseni is, and I think this is such an underrated thing, opposing players just cap their pants with the pace, the directness, the running at them. But shout out to Owen Aseni, who I've rep for harder than most throughout the season. But I'm going to go Ronan Curtis. He's just a joy to watch.
We all love a bad boy. But not literally a former Portsmouth player, Chris.
I've got a signed Ronan Curtis shirt to sell you. Adam?
It's a hard one, isn't it? Can we pick? I'm presuming like anyone that's featured
in the current squad.
This season. This season.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, perfect. Victor Paulson then.
Can we have a serious answer from the current squad?
No, Donald Sock.
Caleb Watts. Wears chunky glasses in the press conference, has written for Mundial magazine
under the name Caleb's Corner.
Has scored. Got to be hard to have a corner. Has scored both of our goals of the season, in my opinion. He's a phenomenally vibesy player, isn't he?
Yeah, I will admit that this squad's won me round, and at the start of the season I hated every single one of them, even the ones that had been here before. I just didn't want them anywhere near me. I didn't want to look at them.
Most of them left.
I didn't want to watch them. But yeah, they're winning me round. I think it has to be Caleb Watts for me as well. That's a cop-out answer. I should give a separate one, really.
Joe Edwards deserves some love.
Joe Edwards,
he does get taken for granted a bit these days.
He's like the long-term partner, but sometimes you just want a fling.
Do you want to keep talking each other more into more trouble, Aaron? Whoever may listen to this,
you want a Ronan Curtis, don't you? That's still fresh, Sam. She's still Ronan Curtis. But you know what I mean? You want a flair. You want a winger. You don't want a right back.
I certainly hope so.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, agreed. Right, any other business before we talk about Cardiff? Because we are 44 minutes in, although I'm sure some of this will be edited out, so we might only be 40 minutes in.
So Such and Lowleys, you're saying? Oh, that was your only other business, right? What you're asking me.
Yeah, no.
Right, okay.
Which I'm going to ask you about. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts they want to say on Cornel Such has joined Serbian Superliga side FK V. Let's call them FKV. Vojvodina.
What something is that?
Nope. I hope none of their fans are listening. On a permanent deal for an undisclosed fee, 64 games, 0 goals. What did you make of Such's time at Argyle? I don't know.
Well, it was certainly a spell that existed in Plymouth Argyle history.
I saw a tweet from Michael Savage that I found myself agreeing with massively. He says because of the chaotic period that he's been with us, I honestly can't tell you whether he's a good footballer or not.
Yeah, I do think that he, if I'm being brutally honest, giving as much of an untainted assessment as I can without, trying to be too nice to him because he's going, but also without being too, bitter as well.
Yeah.
I do think that first 6 months when it was him next to Gibson, there was a lot of promise, especially considering how terribly the team was set up. Him and Gibson actually probably prevented us conceding even more goals in the Wayne Rooney era.
Yeah,
he was one of the few half-decent things about the Wayne Rooney era.
Yeah.
And I would even say...
probably a better partner for Lewis Gibson than Lila Fear.
Yes, very good. Yes, nobody can get that.
I think a lot of people are just watching that.
Maybe.
Go on.
I don't get it.
And I do think that even then, under Muslich, when he was used as a wing-back in our revival in March and April, there were some good performances there. This season, I think, I'm being brutally honest, I think that it was quite heavily when he didn't want to be here, and I do think that showed on the pitch quite a lot. I'm not one who generally likes to call players out for not trying, but the one that just cannot leave my mind is that second Mansfield game, that second Mansfield goal where it just goes across the box, and he literally just does not stick a foot out when doing so would have made a clearance. That just sours it a little bit. But
it's like we have this discussion. I know Joe is of similar mind that when a player doesn't want to be here, just there's no point keeping them, right? Whether that's true or not, right? But
that he is a good argument for that being true.
Exactly, right. But if we did that with our whole squad, we'd have lost everyone, and we would have currently no players. So you can't.
But what I will say is he always seemed a very lovely man off the pitch, and he won't be able to go seal watching in Serbia because it's a landlocked country. We know he loves to go watch the seals at the beaches in Cornwall.
He does.
But he won't be able to do that in Serbia. But hopefully he'll find something he enjoys doing with his wife as much as watching seals.
I feel like he's going to be paid enough money that he could go and see seals.
Yes, that's true.
Joe Rules, I don't know which one of you wants to take this. Likely out for the rest of the season, but let's say he is. Huge blow.
Yeah, it's a blow. Yeah, obviously brilliant player for us for the last few months. I think we've discussed that on previous pods, so it doesn't need to be gone over too much.
Now that he's out, though, do you tie him down to a full-time?
Yeah, I would personally. I want to obviously caveat this with the fact that I don't know anything about his contractual circumstances, what we can afford, and what he wants to do. It's possible he's told the club quietly, I'm not going to sign beyond the end of the season at all, but I'm going to stay here till then. If it were me, I would be using this injury as an opportunity to tie him down. Yeah, I'd be using this as an opportunity to say we are prepared to give you, long-term certainty as you come back to fitness in exchange for you committing your future.
Last time we tied a player down like that, we kept him for 5 more years, and now he's injured again, leading on to our next question.
Yeah, and he's been brilliant for us.
Yes.
And I don't think you would disagree about wanting to keep rules for.
No, I would. I'm just doing a bit tongue.
No, so look, I
don't think I'd go beyond next season to just.
No, but I think if we can say
maybe a one with a club option for another.
Yeah, I think if we can say to him as a show of support to him while he's injured, we're not going to release you into the wilds of the free agent market. While you're recovering from something, you can have that certainty from us. But we want to bring you back in next season. I love it.
He's obviously happy enough to stay with us to sign the extension that he's already signed. So.
Well, yeah, I mean that was pretty short term. So
it makes sense. It's similar to how we played the Michael Cooper situation that one time, where as soon as he got injured, say, okay, let's give you the extension. Obviously, that ended slightly differently.
It's different.
Very different part of his career.
And the point I make on that as well is with Galloway and now Rawls, they were out of contract at the end of the very season. Yeah. Don't forget, Cooper had another season to run, and I actually, because his contract wasn't due to end until summer 24. He got injured in February 23, so he still would have had a year left. So actually, I think we as Argyle fans, and this is going off the total caveat, don't appreciate what a good thing it was for us to Cooper actually sign that year. It was all more good for us than it was for himself, because he could very easily have been, right, I'm going to be a bit of a dick about this. I'm not going to sign an extension of the contract. I'm going to come back into the team when he did, and then he would have left on a free transfer in summer 2024. So actually, it's similar, but it's slightly different because Cooper had another year to go. He could have so easily not signed the extension, ran out that year and left on a free. And it's good for us that he didn't.
I don't find this Raw situation really comparable to the Cooper situation in any useful way. But I think it's at his stage of his career. Look, it might be the case. I get the sense that Joe Rawls is a very honest person who has a lot of integrity. And I think he knows what he wants. This is a guy who stayed at one club for a very, very long time in the modern era. And I think he will know if he wants to stay or he doesn't. I don't think this is a situation where he's going to be putting himself out there for the highest bidder or stringing us along. I hope so. Yeah,
I suppose the only caveat, right, about the offering of a new deal is that we are very good at signing injury-prone players.
I'd make an exception for him. I think if we can
No, I agree.
half of the game,
He wasn't
Devil's advocate.
all that injury prone, was he?
No.
He just leveled. He seemed to have come to the injury factory and it's delivered for him.
The injury factor.
I mean, he did last season at Cardiff, right?
A little bit,
Yeah.
not like a long, not like any. I think this is probably, if he's out to the end of the season, this is possibly going to be the longest term layoff I think it's possibly ever had.
Well, there's probably an argument in favour of keeping.
Yeah, but it's also an argument in favour of what on earth is going on with our injuries. Love it.
Look, I think
we've covered that ground many times.
We may come on to Galloway, who may also reportedly be out of the season.
We can discuss that now if you want.
Yeah.
The next one off the rank and of the conveyor belt at the injury factory. Under Galloway.
And it's a real change. He's been brilliant for us. And obviously, we have got Harding in, which as we
McKenzie's coming back as well.
Yeah, I think Harding looked better at right back than at left back. So I'm not sure he's necessarily a direct replacement for Galloway. But we have McKenzie now as well, who came on today and did well. I thought he looked tenacious, when he came.
What would be good is if we had a player who actually filled in at left back a couple of games earlier in the season and played really well. It'd be a shame if we deregistered, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
stole my tweet straight.
Yeah.
From.
So but with Galloway, that you can make a criticism that we've had him registered for 5 seasons or whatever, and every single year he's had a long layoff. And then you sort of do the cost-benefit analysis, and is it worth it to have him for that period when he is fit? I think you can make a case that it's not going to be worth it again. And at the same time, it's true that it has been worth it for 5 years. And which is why, just to finish my rules point, I think you can make a case with him that it will be worth it for next season with him, even if it's only going to be half the time, because he's an experienced character in the camp, because when he does play that he's going to boost the level of your team by 10% or whatever. Galloway, I think there's a conversation to be had about, whether that's worth doing again, but he has performed that role brilliantly for us to now. And I don't think there's anyone who would sit here and say it was not worth having him for each of those seasons. The contribution he has made has been, I think...
I basically agree. And I think in all honesty, the season which he was probably most ridden with injuries was the title season. So we probably would have released at the end of the title season. He had a player option to extend, which obviously he took. And then the year we came 21st in the championship was probably his least season in terms of injuries.
Yeah, and he was thinking with Coventry.
And he was thinking with all these clubs, yeah. And you know what? Based on the fact that he ended that season under Dew Slip and Nanscoville in brilliant form, and B, he had gone from like November to May without an injury, which was probably his longest run ever without an injury. Factoring in all of the above, I absolutely get why we offered him an extension, because Coventry and Preston were sniffing around. I just wonder if we'd have maybe negotiated a bit smarter, could we have maybe made it like a 1+1 with a club option? And if that had been a 1+1 with a club option, we would have obviously released him at the end of last season.
And he's been brilliant this season when he's been called on. I think you could argue, and obviously everything would have been different if he hadn't signed again. But you could argue that regardless of his availability between now and the end of the season, he has, like rules, played a pivotal part in getting us away from a relegation fight into something else.
I agree, but having said all that, it's still absolutely mad that there is like a relatively decent chance, probably not a likely chance, but I think Edwards will stay one more year, at least in a player coaching capacity at the very least, maybe more than that.
Apparently a very likely chance.
Sure, but I think that there is like a non-zero chance that Galloway is the last man standing for the title team, which would just be like absolutely hilarious.
Last man lying.
Yeah, that's very good.
I was going to touch on it earlier when you did all your individual players. I was going to mention Alex Mitchell, and I think that Sam wanted me to do 30 seconds on him. I thought he was excellent again today. Clean sheet, a goal, assist, his first goal for us. We kind of wanted it to be, as we discussed in the ground, we kind of wanted it to be a bullet header.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a Blackpool own goal. But I don't think it's come off his.
Watch it again on Sunday. It's Mitchell's goal.
I did think in the ground it was an own goal, and having seen it back, it's his goal.
But anyway, on Mitchell himself, I think. But you guys have covered it a lot. I'm just a big fan of his. I like him a lot.
Can I say very quickly? I think this is a guy who, unlike some who may have been mentioned in a recent conversation, during that bad run, acquitted himself incredibly in terms of personal integrity and at a very difficult time in his life.
Going through an awful bit.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I think whatever happens with him, and I hope we can keep him. Yeah. But if we can't, then
there is a video that Joe Edwards has tweeted today, like this evening, of him headbutting a boxing machine. Yeah, I assume it's on a Blackpool Pier from last night, but who knows? Very funny. Go and check that out. We had tweeted it whilst we were live. Well, not live. We're not live whilst we were recording this.
I wonder where all the comments were.
Yeah, and they're on my phone. Adam, you get the glamorous stuff. Freddie and Saka and Caleb Roberts have joined Truro City on loan. Feels like the best move for them and for us and for Truro. Freddie started today, 55 minutes, was taken off. They lost 1-0 to, good question, should have checked that. I'm going to say like Tonbridge Wells or something. But anyway.
I've got nothing to dispute it. So, they lost to Tonbridge Wells is what we're saying.
Tonbridge Wells.
They lost to Halifax Town. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, very similar, yeah.
I meant Tonbridge Angels, but
very similar part of the country, demographic, yeah.
It's hard to tell them apart.
Well, I think it might be a somewhat similar demographic, actually. But anyway, this is a conversation we don't need to get into.
No, we definitely don't. It makes sense for them. It probably makes sense for us if they're not going to be in the squad, although I do wonder, with Rawls being out for a very long time, whether Caleb Roberts couldn't possibly have had a role to play in some capacity.
He feels like one of those that we've always used as like a potential, but he's never actually been on the fringes.
It is, and it feels like,
which is a shame.
I mean, the high likelihood. I know it's not certain one way or the other. The high likelihood is that we're going to get to the end of the season. There will be at least a few games where there is nothing on the line.
Yeah,
and we're finishing mid-table. That feels like a very ideal opportunity to
play them.
Yeah, get Roberts' minutes, get Isaka in the team, or at the very least in the squad. All of this being said, I can understand why we've done it. I can absolutely understand why we've. And
don't forget, basically, conference loans exist in the way that EFL loans used to up to about 2015, which is that basically we can end them at any time we recall them. We can still do that in the final few games. Yeah.
Do what with them? End them? Don't do that.
Trebley is actually. I hadn't really thought about this till now. Sort of the anti-Rooney. Rooney was desperate to blood young players. At every club he's been at, I think he would bring through some kids you've never heard of.
In Birmingham, we brought through some kid who basically never played for the big.
Yeah, and obviously he gave Joe Hatch his Argyle debut at Burnley away when no one knew who he was. And without wishing to be cynical, I think Rooney had a dream that the next Wayne Rooney would be discovered by him, and he would get to say, "I mentored that person through," which is honourable. If
Rooney managed similarly to how I do on Football Manager, is I give every youth player their debut that says favourite personnel Aaron Hockett.
Yeah, and I think that he, given his personal mythology, maybe there's a degree of self-interest in that. Cleverly is not like that at all. He does not seem to trust young players. Lord McCabe, even, who is a more developed younger player than Roberts and Isaka.
When we got Cleverly
I was going to say that's another trigger.
Yeah.
So when we got Cleverly he was quoted as being.
So is everyone. Every young manager who comes into a club is going to say, "I bring through young talent," and I think that it's not necessarily like a mark against him because we've had to do what we have to do this season. Yeah. And I think I'm now at the point where I actually trust this guy's judgment again to a significant extent. Yeah. But it is a bit of a shame that he is, even times when it's been difficult, not shown a bit more enthusiasm.
It is
through younger players.
Ultimately the case, I guess, that not being like Wayne Rooney is inherently a positive.
Yeah, agreed. Let's wrap this up then. Cardiff at home.
You're forgetting we are going to Leyton Orient on Tuesday night.
We're going to Leyton Orient on Tuesday night.
You are actually going.
I'm going as well.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
Yeah, are you going?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. Leyton Orient, that changes the question slightly. Leyton Orient away. Just initial thoughts.
Yeah, but look, what I did say after having calmed down from my initial punching a lamppost reaction after the league loss, I did say it was important that we won one of those two away, otherwise the pressure would start to build. Clearly, we won today, so you can all yes. Oh yeah, we have, and that's why we're very happy.
It's very unlike you to react straight after a final whistle and tweet and stuff, and then draw back on it.
I never did that. The point tangent. The point being, when I did draw back on it, I said that we are still in a decent position, but it is very important we win one of these two.
We're top half now.
Yeah, we have not won one of those two. So to that extent, the game at Leyton Orient could be looked on as a bit of a free hit, sort of, kind of, because we've got the important win. That being said, it is also an absolutely huge opportunity to push on if we're aiming to finish in the top half, top 10 even, and maybe keep whatever tiny, minuscule whisper of playoff hope there is alive. I still think there's not much of one. Yeah. But a win at Orient would be absolutely huge, at least for ending the season positively, and that psychological boost to finishing in the top half.
Can I just say, if we play like we have played today and in the first half in recent weeks, I think we'll get into playoffs. Because I think if we play, again, it's a huge if we can maintain that to the end of the season, I think we will win almost every game. Now, we probably won't, because there'll probably be a natural drop-off. But
there'll probably be someone else will get injured or something.
Sure, but I would say the 2 defeats we've had were against the 2 of the best 4 teams in the league, and there's no shame in that. And if we play like that against teams below the top 4, I think we look like one of the best teams in the league. So there's
and to be fair, I actually think one thing that does maybe want me to bump the probability of playoffs up, from probably 1% to even if it's to 2 or 3% is. We do. I know it's too early to be talking about the running in such terms, but I think we do have a favourable running. If you look at the teams we played twice, a lot of them are good teams. We played Stockport twice; they're a high-end team. We played Lincoln twice; they're a high-end team. Yeah. We played Stevenage twice; they're no, that's a Gaffer team as once. We played Wickham twice; they're like an 8th or 9th place team.
They're 11th,
and then they're 11th now. But sure, but if you look at the teams we played twice, I think that majority of them are up there towards the Peterborough. They're 10th.
They are 10th, bang on.
Yeah. Okay. So and Luton, they're 8th, 7th.
Well, 8th, bang on. Keep going.
Okay. So
we beat them twice as well.
Yeah. So that's 5. Obviously, Blackpool will be the exception. They're down there, but that's 5 teams who we played twice. Or Burton as well are down there, but still, of the 7 teams we played twice, I think 5 of them are in the top 10.
Yeah.
So that
and after next weekend it'll be Orient and Cardiff, who Orient obviously are not great, but Cardiff are top. So.
Yeah. So you think after Cardiff, we then have a run of games coming up against teams in the bottom half, quite a prolonged one against teams in the bottom half. So I don't want to be too fickle. I'm not going to do the opposite of what I did and just veer from one to the other. Maybe there is a little whisper of it. The maths are just too improbable, I think, for me to get excited. Just because we need to have comfortable automatic promotion form, I think, at this point.
But I guess what I'm saying is that if we play like we played today,
we could get
again, we're probably not going to. It's not a prediction. I'm just saying that that level of performance probably beats every team in the league apart from Lincoln, Stockport, Cardiff. Don't say it. I'm not going to say it. Awesome. But apart from those teams, that level of performance.
Well, tell you what though, John, even at home, that can give because Bolton are not a great away side. So at home park, that can give
Steven Schumacher's not great away from home. Colour me shocked.
Yeah, well,
Adam, I just looking at the league table to guess whether Sam's team rankings were correct. Going back onto the 4-0 win over Blackpool. I appreciate we've mixed this up slightly. Football gives Malachi Boateng man of the match. Do we need to give him any credit?
Sure.
It was good.
It's one of his better games, obviously scored. I do wonder with some of these
3 clearances, 3 headed clearances, 1 interception, 4 recoveries, apparently.
So 3 clearances that were all headed, is what I'm saying.
Maybe, yeah.
Is Malachi Boateng to Blackpool as Darko JB is to Middlesbrough?
Yeah.
Beginning to wonder. Yeah.
Quite possibly,
I think it was one of his better games, don't get me wrong. I think it was one of his better games.
I think as much as he's can be an absolute calamity, to quote Ryan Lowe, the one thing that I've always said you do get from Boateng is off the ball energy. And I think today he showed that in absolute abundance. So yeah.
He seems like the perfect partner in this squad anyway for Kane, who wants
I think you want one of Boateng and Wiradou with one of Kane or Rawls, yeah. And I think Ibrahim is the one who can kind of do a little bit of both roles. He's got that tenaciousness and bite off the ball a little bit too bloody much at times, but he also has that real talent and ability to control the game.
Yeah, but he feels like he's a 6, an 8, and a 10.
I feel Ibrahim is the one who can slot onto either of those caps, what I'm saying.
I'm really excited to see Ibrahim in a 2, actually, at some point. When he came on today, he played up front, actually. So I'm excited to see him at some point in that 2. We've not seen him in a 4-4-2 in the middle.
You won't see Ibrahim in a 2, you'll only see him in the 23.
Very good. Well, 2 and a 3.
To be fair, John, the 3-4-3 contains a midfield too, and that, to be fair, was arguably his best run of form was in the 3-4-3 when he obviously got the Stockport and Luton games.
I would argue that's different because the two midfielders in the 4-4-2 have to kind of do the box-to-box thing, or one of them has to say.
The 3-4-3 could be described as a 3-4-2-1, which makes the midfield job a lot easier.
That's true.
Right. John, Leighton Orient, we'll wrap up with this comment.
Yeah.
Go there on Tuesday night. This is a pretty enjoyable away day, normally, isn't it?
Never been. So,
Never been?
I have
Okay.
to ask. Even though I live in London,
You live in London?
I had tickets for Leighton
Oh,
Orient.
You've ticked 2 off United 2 this week, haven't you? Blackpool today and Orient on Tuesday.
So Leighton Orient had a ticket for March the 17th,
It was March
2020.
17th. I'm glad to say.
We can all remember what happened.
I
Then,
lost a Curtis
Broken
Nelson
announced.
shirt at Orient away one year. Don't know what year.
There we go.
So you
I
can
wore
lose your Ronan
I
Curtis
wore
shirt
it.
on.
I wore it. We won. I took it off celebrating and then lost it.
Brilliant.
So
Uh,
I had
yeah,
I had a jacket. I didn't go home. Topless.
I'm excited. I think it's
Shame.
pretty easy for me to get to. So yeah, it's going to be good. So I'm looking forward to ticking it off. And then I've got Reading as well, which is another new ground for me, as was Stockport. So
The ding.
and I think we should also say while we're on that we will all be. I don't think it counts necessarily towards the 92 anymore, but we will all be ticking off Goodison Park tomorrow.
I'm going to my first ever women's football game tomorrow.
That's a shame. You should go on Wednesday when.
I might go to my second women's football game on Wednesday.
Oh yeah, when Argyle women host Exeter City women.
But are we not doing the podcast at that time? We should probably do that on Thursday, actually, shouldn't we?
You might be. I'm not. Anyway, score predictions for Tuesday. It's Sam.
2-1 win.
Same, yeah. 2-1 Argyle.
2-0 Argyle.
3-0 Plymouth Argyle.
Come on.
Very nice.
Come on. I think that's everything. Just remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll keep the camera on you three. Remember to follow us on what we on Instagram, Facebook. No, I haven't got the
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky
Yeah.
X. We don't talk about X's on Valentine's Day. So,
Hey.
yeah, make sure you like,
X's and O's. No?
subscribe on YouTube and all that good stuff, and find us on all your major podcast platforms. And we'll be back, back in the little squares next week, I think, at some point. If we're going to do this more often, which I mean, we've only done it twice this season, once in Austria and once in Blackpool. They're quite far apart. We might invest in some actual podcasting equipment, and it might be a bit better. But I say,
On the other hand, though, not as bad as Plymouth Cricket Club. If you know, you know. Yeah.
I still keep getting Aaron to try and put that podcast out for comedy purposes, but he refuses to do it.
Yeah. No. Cool. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Safe journey home.
That's up to you.